What is up, guys? It's Jadeon and welcome to DesignsAcademy. Today we'll be messing with cameras in Cinema 4D. So we got a couple of different things to go over. We got around 5 different cameras in Cinema 4D that are useful, and unfortunately people look over these cameras a whole lot. Now people usually use this camera right here, which is the regular main camera that everyone it's the mainstream one. It's the easiest one, so why not work with it? Well, for people that want to kind of experiment and get somewhat new effects and whatnot with their work, it's really cool to check out these cameras. They have my favorite one is the motion camera setup. Actually no, I actually like the crane one because the crane one's realistic. It gives you that film effect, which is honestly one of my favorite effects. So I'm going to teach you guys how to use these. I'm going to teach you guys how to work with them when it comes to keyframe and stuff like that. So with all that said, let's actually begin. So right now you guys are just looking at a quick thing I just put together in Cinema 4D. I'm aware that there's no S at the end of Designs Academy because it looks a lot nicer without the S, I'm not gonna lie. So that is that. Anyway, I think it's pretty good. I'm pretty sure it's safe to say that this is a very simple task in Cinema 4D. It's just kind of sometimes time consuming because cameras can be a pain. That's my personal preference, obviously, but not preference, opinion. But yeah, so I think I'm gonna start with teaching you guys what the 3D cam is. So now we can start. So first things first is that what I'm using right now is this camera right up here called just camera. Literally, it's the most mainstream camera, like I said. It has all the objects and everything, but I never really see people look at these settings. Unfortunately, people ignore these a lot. I'm not gonna lie, it's not like that bad or anything. Like it doesn't really give you all that much to mess with. You can't really do it already. So I mean, I can understand why people don't check them out, but it's still safe to know. So basically, you got all these settings down here, and I mean, you got projection, which don't mess with this. This is honestly useless for you. But other than that, everything here can be useful if you know what it is. So focal length is your lens. So if you're familiar with photography, you know what a lens is, and it's kind of it gives you that field of view kind of look where, like, if you have a 155 millimeter lens on, you can zoom up pretty far, but you can't get very close. So I mean, you can be very far away, but the quality up close won't be good. So I have a thing right here it's called 135 millimeters. And this gets closer because it's millimeters. If you want to get farther, you have to have a macro lens, which in this case would be a lens that is probably around 35 millimeters. I mean, yeah, so it would be around 35 millimeters for a macro lens, which would get the extreme detail that you're looking for. So the 135 gets you close, but it can get you super far and still give you quality, as a lens with 15 millimeters can get you super far away, but you get no quality. It's kind of confusing. It feels like it's backwards. It feels like I'm sitting here telling you the smaller the number, the farther you go. That's what it's actually portraying as I look at it. It's just doing that because of how I have the camera already set up. So don't worry about that. Because the camera is already very close to the object, what makes it really far away, which is what macro lenses do. As for a lens that's for far away, it will enlarge it because it's trying to make it bigger. So that's why it seems like it's kind of confusing. But I'm gonna stick with the 36 millimeter lens because that's classic as it says here. But people that use Element 3D and stuff like that usually use the lens from 55 millimeters or 50 millimeters. This is because it's honestly the most normal one. And then you got classic, which is 36. So I'm gonna stick with 36 right now. The sensor size, film gate, you don't really have to worry about this, but this is basically the border between on where you actually have the camera. Like, I'll show you right now actually. If you look, you can see this green little box that the camera has, and that's basically what the sensor film size is. So that's that. Yeah, and then you got field of view horizontal and field of view vertical. Now this is something I'd rather not mess with unless you know what you're doing, because this can really mess your work up. So if I crank this up, what's happening right now is it's pulling the camera. It's not stretching or anything. It's pulling the camera back. But it's messing physically. It would be messing with the lens. Now it's digital, so there's no physical activities going on here. But if it was a camera, what would be going on right now is, as you can see, if you look above, that right there, the plane is getting super stretched out as it's a perfect square. and it basically, anything that's very close to it gets stretched out, and everything that's very far, you know, stays the same. It's pretty cool effect if you know what you're doing, but in my opinion, I don't think it's worth messing with. And then you got vertical, which is kind of the same thing, I believe. I don't really see a difference. Film offset X, film offset Y. Don't worry about that. Focus distance, like I said, it's that green box around where you actually film, where your film is. And you got focus object, where a focus object is also what target cameras use for. So I'll just teach you with that. White balance, don't mess with that unless you know what that is. White balance is basically the amount of light. So if you're seeing as dark, you can crank up the white balance. And yeah. So that's just main stuff. Physical, this is going to be an advanced tutorial. I'm trying to teach you guys how to do this, because with physical you can have a movie camera on with f-stops, ISOs, exposures, gain, shutter angle, shutter speeds. That's all high. That's advanced photography knowledge right there, because you can f-stop basically is the amount of blurry. So if you have your f-stop very low, then it's going to be very blurry. If you have it very high, then it's going to be no blur at all. Exposure, the amount of light. ISO, I believe this is, I actually don't remember what that is, to be honest with you guys, but I know it has something to do with the light, I think. I don't know, I think. And shutter speed is this how much light is getting into your lens. So if you have it a low number, your lens light, or your light capture is very, very small, which means it's not going to get a lot of light. But if it's high, you get a lot of light. The smaller it is, though, the longer it takes, because it still has to take a picture of everything else. So it's really cool stuff if you get to learn it. And that's all the main settings of cameras. Now we got a 3D camera, we have a target camera, we have a motion camera setup, and we have a crane camera. With all of that behind me said, we can start up with this. So now 3D camera, I kind of animated it just to give you guys, oh wait, no, I don't think it was, never mind, it wasn't 3D camera, but basically what the 3D camera is it's the same exact camera as the main one, only it's meant for motion. So it's literally, people animate with this camera when you should be using 3D camera for animations. All the settings or anything are exactly how they are right here. Literally, 3D camera is just meant for, you know, just orbiting and, you know, stuff like that. It's all it is. So don't really get into that unless you really care for it. If you have any preferences, now it doesn't make anything easier. It doesn't do anything. It's literally just the same thing, but they call it 3D camera because it does serve a purpose. Target camera is pretty cool. This is really good for logo reveals. So you have this little thing you got when you open it. You get camera and a camera target. Now the camera target, what you get here is you get like a null object, and wherever the null object is, this camera will follow along. Now I put a little animation here so you guys can see. I didn't do any, I didn't keep it like that. Like, honestly, what it does, what it's meant to do is it follows a null. So wherever you go, it's going to be looking directly at that, which is really useful. So if you look right here, if I select my camera and just start orbiting, so I'm gonna go to my first one over here. I'm gonna turn on my auto keyframing. If you look, I'm just orbiting, and it's staying put. I mean, sometimes it does that, but if I go over here, it does the same thing. It's basically just orbiting. So I mean, it's not much of a difference between orbit when it comes to this. So I mean, all you have to do is orbit, and then you have your Z-Space tool, which you don't have to worry about as well. So like I said, this is a really cool tool, and I definitely recommend this if you're doing a logo reveal. And yeah, it's pretty cool, right? Yeah. All right, turn that off. What's next? Oh yeah, I'm gonna teach you guys about the camera target. So the camera target follows it. So if you move it down or up or down or side to side, you can see that it does stay synchronized with it. So that is a target camera. Next is motion camera setup. This is pretty cool actually. So I'm gonna show you guys this really quick. So motion camera setup is basically a motion camera. So a motion camera is basically, I say basically a lot, I just realized that, but it's a camera where it reenacts what it would be like if a person was actually holding it in real life. So it takes all of that, it basically just takes all of that kind of knowledge that it has of you holding an iPhone camera pointed at something. So like it calculates footsteps, shaking, that kind of stuff. So I mean, I actually messed with it a little bit here in settings. So I had if you go to motion, you can kind of just you have presets. That's pretty cool. So you have calm, which is just someone holding, pointing, point and shoot. Barely see any movement, but there's still some there. Actually, I don't think there was any there at all. But Steadicam, this is like intensity to the max, but it stays steady by staring at its object. So it's basically just moving around. It's pretty cool. And this is the same thing for Steadicam 2, which is a little bit more extreme. And yeah, Ego. This is kind of just the opposite of what you just saw. And you got Dogma Cam, which this is the cam effect that you'll see being used in action movies and stuff when they take the video and they'll put it into the program and they'll use a Dogma Cam. I believe it's pronounced Dogma. I don't know if it's Dogma or Dogma. I believe it's Dogma though. Anyway, that is the presets with motion when it comes to motion camera. So this is basically just meant for that. That's all it's useful for, is the motion, realistic motion. So if you guys don't like if you guys don't like organic wiggle effect, or you don't like the expression and After Effects for wiggle, you can always use this effect, which is pretty awesome as well. And you got dynamics, which is foot dynamics. This is just basically when you have the camera actually moving, it calculates footsteps. So I don't really think you should worry about this stuff unless you actually really do care for it. Now, if you guys want to learn how to do this, I'll put that in an advanced tutorial. But yeah, I mean, that's motion camera setup. So next we got the crane. This should be interesting. So crane is one of my favorites by far. This is honestly one of my favorites, I'm not even gonna lie. So I took it upon myself to put up a little kind of animation what I did with the crane. So as you can see, it just does this cool effect. It's just like, it's nothing major. I mean, you could do this with a regular camera, but it's not as simple as it would usually be. To do that kind of effect, you would have to do a little bit more work, as this has everything kind of just there. So with all the, I'm going to go to the very last one. So what's here now? You get all, if you select right here, I forgot about that, you just select right here to get the actual camera settings. So with the crane camera, which is this one right down here, camera crane, you can have all these settings. So you have base, arm, head, and camera. The one I use mostly is just camera and base. Sometimes arm and head, but that's on occasions. This is these settings are very useful though. So I'm gonna start telling you guys about the base really quick. Alright, so the base with the heading and the height. This is just basic stuff. Heading, I don't really use the heading that often. I kind of ignore it. It's basically just the point orbit tool. So I mean, it's not that useful. We got height, which is basically the height of your base. So if I actually exit this, you'll be able to see the camera crane. So you guys can't really see it, but the crane is right here, and you can actually see what the crane looks like, which is really cool. So this is what the crane looks like. It's very small with a huge heading. So I mean, that's pretty extreme. But that's the crane right there. This is the heading, and then this is the camera right here. Pretty cool stuff. I just really like it because it actually puts the crane there, which is, pretty cool. Anyway, go back to the settings. This is, oh, by the way, this is the base, so you can see like the height as it grows to be bigger. So that's that. Then we got length, which is the heading, which is how far the actual crane part extends. The pitch, which is there's on a camera crane, there's this thing at the end of it where the camera attaches to, and it's round, and it's used to get stabilized up and down hand movements. So like if you imagine like putting your arm, if you imagine pointing at something and then moving your arm up and then going back, it kind of like that. So that way, it's just like a pretty cool stabilization effect. So that's basically what the pitch does. You got head, which is the actual camera now. You have heading, which is the same thing as it was before. The width, that's pretty obvious what that does. Kind of just scales it back and forth. And you got the actual camera. This is the lens, all right? This is the lens. So they got pitch, which is up and down, banking, which is side and side, and offset, which is forward and backward. And that is pretty basic stuff. I mean, if you can remember that, then you can remember anything, right? No, I'm just kidding. But it's still pretty cool stuff. Now, one more thing about the camera crane is that you do have settings here that you can import targets into. So, I mean, if you want to have it all pointed at the scene right here, you just drag and put your scene in there. And every time you switch your pitch or whatever, you can, just have it there. So, I'm pretty sure heading won't really work as well. Actually, no, it will, because yeah, it's gonna work. Anyway, if you put this in target right here, there it goes. So now it locks onto this down here. Now the way to fix that is you kind of just gotta play with it. But now if you play with the width and heading and stuff, it's pretty intense. So let's see what we did. Let's see what we did here. Oh my god, that's so bad. Alright, so that's basically the whole tutorial. I appreciate you guys watching. I hope I helped you guys out and get a little bit of understanding of how cranes and cameras and stuff work. It was pretty basic tutorial, just a lot of information to hold in your head. I definitely recommend looking at this stuff. I mean, it's really cool things you guys can always check out. Cinema 48, I believe they're all available from R12 to like R16, so you're good there. With all that said, guys, if you guys want to check out our channel, just make sure you go there if you haven't already subscribed. If you guys like us, obviously, if the video helped, make sure you give it that thumbs up. If you have any questions, comments, and or concerns, down below in the comments section. I'll get back to you as quick as possible. You can contact me personally through Skype. I have that in the description like usual as well. If you'd like to purchase products from me or anything like that, just let me know as well personally, because I probably won't get back to you as fast on YouTube. We have a store from Carbon Made. You can purchase some really cool shirts. It doesn't have actual DesignsAcademy logos on it. It has pretty decent, just artistic kind of things, and yeah, that's that. Check out our second channel if you want to get some life experiences or cooking or whatever videos from me, Nick, or Hayden. It's a pretty cool channel, and I guess we can stop the video here. So thanks again for watching, guys. I've been Jaden, and I'm out. Peace.